Jurassic Park.
Mm,
It's just one of those things, book and film, that really stuck in the culture, hasn't it?
absolutely. And Spielberg's movie, I mean, it totally changed the game for how people saw dinosaurs. Suddenly, they weren't these slow, lumbering things anymore.
They were fast, bird-like, intelligent,
Hmm.
much more like we picture them now, even if that picture keeps changing.
And that shift really started with Michael Crichton's book. It's fascinating because, well, neither the book nor the film is perfectly accurate by today's science.
Not by a long shot, probably.
But for their time, they were both pretty revolutionary in how they brought these animals to life.
So today, let's get into the weeds on that. Comparing the dinosaurs themselves, Crichton's original vision versus Spielberg's screen version.
Yeah, looking at the differences, it really shows how science was shifting, but also how stories get shaped for, maximum impact.
Okay, let's kick off with the really big herbivores. The film gives us that stunning Brachiosaurus intro.
Which actually looks more like a Giraffatan, technically.
Ah, okay. And it does that incredible rearing up on its hind legs.
Amazing cinema. But probably impossible for an animal built like that, so front heavy. Hammond's guess about the neck length, though, around 30 feet, that was actually pretty close for a brachiosaur.
So a bit of a mixed bag, accuracy-wise, for the movie's intro giant.
You could say that, maybe a 5 out of 10-ish.
What about the book? No Brachiosaurus there, I understand.
No, Crichton used a patasaurus, what people sometimes still call brontosaurus.
And how did he describe it? More accurate.
In some ways, yeah. The novel talks about a long, deep skull and the neck held low, more horizontally. Very different from the film's depiction.
Interesting. Any behaviors mentioned?
He describes their sounds as like elephants, but deeper, lower. And they weren't scared of the T-Rex, apparently, unless one got caught alone. Crichton was specific on numbers 2, 17 to start, 12 left by the end.
That's a level of detail the film doesn't really go into. All right, next up, the hadrosaurs, the duckbills. The movie has Parasaurolophus, right? Mostly in the background.
Yeah, you see them by the water, green with black and white stripes. They look cool, but there are some definite issues.
Such as?
Well, they often show them standing upright bipedally, which wasn't their normal posture, and dragging their tails on the ground. We know now that's not right. Plus, the film versions are a little smaller than the real thing.
So maybe a 4 out of 10 for the movie Parasaurolophus?
Something like that. Style over substance, perhaps?
Did the book feature Parasaurolophus?
Nope. Crichton included Hadrosaurus itself, but the description is, well, pretty vague. Just duck-billed. One gets eaten by the adult Rex early on. Numbers, again. 11 originally, down to 4.
Very general.
Yeah.
Were there any other hadrosaurs in the novel?
Yes, Maiasaura. Again, not super detailed. Described as beige with an upturned lip that looked like a smile. The key thing in the book is that they're breeding because of the frog DNA filler.
Ah, the frog DNA plot point. Makes sense.
But predators hit them hard. They started with 21 adults and a baby, ended with just 20 adults, so maybe a 6 out of 10 for the Maiasaur. It gave some info.
Okay, now the ones with horns and plates. The film's sick Triceratops scene. Very impactful.
It is. The whole business with the West Indian lilac and gizzard stones causing the illness.
That plausible. Gizzard stones in a Triceratops.
It's questionable. Some dinosaurs, like sauropods, definitely use them, but the evidence for ceratopsians like Triceratops is pretty thin.
Then the size in the film.
Way too small, about half the size of a real adult Triceratops. But the overall look, the frill, the horns, the body was actually decent for the early 90s. Though, sadly, that one dies in the movie.
A memorable moment. What about the book? Did it have a sick Triceratops?
No, Crichton swapped it. In the novel, it's a sick Stegosaurus with the exact same lilac poisoning problem.
A stego. Really? You do see stego DNA vials in the film, briefly.
Exactly. The book Stegosaurus is shown eating the poisonous plants and is described as, well, quite stupid, which isn't really fair or accurate. Only one of the book's 4 stegos survives. Maybe a 6 out of 10 for its accuracy.
But the book does have Triceratops too, just not the sick one.
Yes, and the book's Triceratops is actually much better depicted. Larger, 30 feet, 8 tons. Longer horns, because Crichton accounted for the keratin sheath.
That's impressive detail.
It is. He mentions poor eyesight, which isn't really backed up by evidence, but describes them as docile, petable even. Unless you get more than 4 together, then they get aggressive.
Herd dynamics. Interesting. Numbers.
Started with 8, including a baby called Ralph. Ended with 6. I'd give the book's Triceratops a solid 9 out of 10 for the time.
Wow. Quite a difference there. Okay, let's shrink down. The small ornithopods. Compsognathus isn't in the first movie, is it?
Not the first one, no. They pop up later. But Crichton's novel has Procompsognathus, the Cumpies.
Ah, the Cumpies. And they're quite important in the book.
Hugely important. They're depicted as tiny terrors, especially in packs. They actually kill John Hammond at the end of the novel.
Whoa. That's a major departure from the film's ending for him.
Completely different fate. The book opens with them attacking a child in Costa Rica, too, and Crichton gave them venom.
Venom. Little Cumpies.
Yep. High in serotonin, supposedly making victims sluggish. Very unlikely biologically, but a scary concept. And of course, depicted without feathers, which we now know is wrong. Maybe 6 out of 10, given the venom invention.
Featherless venom Cumpies. Got it. Any other small plant eaters in the book?
There's Drysaurus, though the book calls them Hypsilophodon and gets the relation to Iguanodon wrong. They're shown smaller than they were and only appear once. Low accuracy, maybe 410, started with 34, ended with 14.
Wow.
And Othnielia, which we now call Nanosaurus. The book makes them a bit bigger than life and thinks they lived in trees, which isn't right. But it gets their jumping ability and describes them as omnivores, though they were herbivores. Science thought they might be arboreal back then, so maybe a 6 out of 10 for reflecting contemporary ideas. Started with 23, 15 remained.
So a real mixed bag for the small ones in the book, too. What about flyers? Pterosaurs.
Not at all in the first film. They become a big deal later, obviously.
But the novel had them from the start. Pterodactylus.
That's the one. Crichton's version has a slightly larger wingspan than current estimates. He depicted them as crestless, which was the thinking at the time. We now know they had crests, but crucially, he described them with a furry coating.
Like pycnofibers.
Exactly, pycnofibers. That was remarkably prescient for the time, a real point in the book's favor. They're fish eaters, territorial, dive bomb aggressively like falcons. But Crichton correctly notes they aren't strong enough to fly off with a person.
So pretty accurate, apart from the crest and maybe wingspan.
Yeah, surprisingly good. Easily a 9 out of 10 for the novel's pterosaur. Started with 6 on the charts, 4 seen, all 4 survived. Bit of a numbers glitch there, maybe.
Fascinating. Okay, besides the stars, any other dinosaurs just mentioned or listed?
The film's DNA vials give a whole shopping list. Proceratosaurus, Compsognathus, even though not seen, Stegosaurus, ditto, Metriacanthosaurus, Baryonyx, Herrerasaurus, Stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus. Never heard of that one in any Jurassic media.
Nope, it remains the odd one out. Also, Corythosaurus, Pteranodon, and Troodon are on the list. Some show up later in sequels or games.
And the book's background cast.
Crichton mentions Microceratops briefly in Treetops, 22 down to 13, the big armored Euoplocephalus, 16 down to 9, Styracosaurus, 18 down to 7, and another mention of Stegosaurus separate from the sick one. No real descriptions to rate accuracy on these.
Quite the extended roster on both sides now.
Yeah.
The scary ones. Dilophosaurus. The movie version is unforgettable. The frill, the spitting.
Unforgettable, yes. Accurate. Not even close. Probably the least accurate dinosaur in the whole film.
Really? What's wrong with it?
Pretty much everything. The neck, frill, pure invention, zero fossil basis. The skull shape is wrong, more like a dromaeosaur's. It's way too small compared to the real animal. And the venom spitting, especially that distance, completely fictional.
So like a 1 out of 10.
If that, it's iconic movie monster design, not paleontology.
How does the book's Dilophosaurus compare? Still inaccurate.
Still inaccurate, but differently. Crichton's is actually larger than the real thing. He describes a leopard-like pattern, green belly, V-shaped red crests, more detailed. It also spits venom.
Still spitting venom.
Oh yeah, up to 50 feet in the book. Described as 7 enzymes causing blindness and agony. Total fiction, of course. But interestingly, the book mentions its bite force was thought weak, which was an idea floating around then, though now we know they had a strong bite. So description is better, venom is still wrong. Maybe a 6 out of 10. Better than the films, at least.
Different inaccuracies, but maybe slightly closer. Okay, the main event. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Rexy in the film. Huge. Terrifying.
She is huge. Larger than most known fossils, but maybe within the realm of possibility for the species. The bite force is implied to be massive, but the vision thing.
The don't move and it can't see you trope.
Complete myth. No basis in science whatsoever. And like many movie dinosaurs then, she looks a bit shrink-wrapped, too skinny, showing off the skeleton underneath too much. Overall film Rex accuracy. Maybe 5 or 6 out of 10.
What about the book? Does Crichton do better with the Tyrant King?
He features 2, actually. A younger one and the big adult, Roberta. Both are described as maybe a bit too large for their projected ages, but the book really shows the power. Roberta lifts the Land Cruiser, takes down a hadrosaur with 1 bite.
More visceral?
Definitely. Malcolm gets his leg broken by a bite, even though it wasn't full force. The young one tears off Muldoon's leg. But Crichton still uses the same flawed vision mechanic. Can't see stationary prey.
Oh, that vision thing again. So book Rex, maybe a 7 out of 10. Better power display, same vision issue.
It's about right. Now the other stars. The Velociraptors.
Yes. The clever girls. Or boys.
Yeah.
Whatever they were. Film and book both get the size wrong.
Yeah.
Base them on Deinonychus.
Correct. Both versions are way too big, even for Deinonychus, let alone the actual Velociraptor. The film ones are that sort of dark brown, famously intelligent, testing fences, opening doors.
Setting traps, almost.
Yeah, highly intelligent pack hunters. The film gives them thick skulls, which isn't really accurate. Wrists can't pronate, that's good. But no feathers. A huge inaccuracy now.
A very big one. Film raptor accuracy.
It's pretty low because of the size and feathers, maybe 2 out of 10. Highly influential, but not accurate. 8 were bred. The big one killed most, leaving the 2 we see cause havoc.
What about Crichton's raptors? How do they differ?
Coloration is different, green-yellow with dark brown stripes, like tigers. The young are bright yellow with stripes, skulls are thinner, and they have a forked tongue, which is just weird and wrong.
Forked tongue. Okay. Intelligence.
Oh, they're terrifyingly smart in the book, too. Coordinated attacks from the start, leaping at the fences, killing workers, setting traps, jumping onto roofs, even climbing trees.
Tree climbing raptors.
Yeah.
But they can be outsmarted in the book?
Yes, Tim traps one in a freezer, and Grant poisons some eggs they try to eat. And the book has this whole subplot where the initial 8 bred like crazy, up to 37.
37 raptors.
Yeah, and formed a wild colony that was actually migrating, becoming somewhat more settled and matriarchal. About 27 were left by the end. Book accuracy. Still size and feather issues, plus the tongue. Maybe 4 out of 10.
Still pretty inaccurate, but a different flavor of intelligent menace. It really highlights how both creators took what they needed for the story.
Exactly. The novel often goes into more biological detail, the numbers, the breeding, more specific descriptions sometimes. But it has its own share of inaccuracies, often different from the films. Color is definitely more vivid in the book.
And the intelligence is dialed up in both, just shown in slightly different ways. Plus, you have dinosaurs unique to each version, like the Cumpies in the book or the main Parasaurolophus role in the film.
It boils down to both versions reflecting the science of their day, mixed with a very healthy dose of creative license for drama.
So neither is a perfect paleo documentary, obviously. But they took big swings.
Big, influential swings. Despite all the inaccuracies we can point out now, Jurassic Park, book and film, fundamentally changed how we think about dinosaurs. It blew the dust off them and made paleontology exciting for millions.
It absolutely did.
Yeah.
And it makes you think, with everything we've learned since Crick wrote the book and Spielberg made the film, how would you even approach adapting it now? How do you portray these animals accurately with modern science, but still keep that, that thrilling monster movie feel?
That's the challenge, isn't it? Balancing the science with the spectacle. It's something for you to ponder, definitely.